Hello, I would like to welcome everybody on the next day of Film Spring Open. Today we have with us special guests, like really extraordinary guests. Today we will learn how to create such a spectacular and fantastic and breathtaking shots as you could see in the White Courage. The title is White Courage as an example of using special climbing techniques with a camera during filming in mountains in extreme circumstances. We would like to give a round of applause to Marcin Koszałka, the director of the film. We also have Andrzej Marcisz, a fantastic Polish climber, the mountain climber, and head of shooting in mountainous conditions. And we also have Marcin Polar, the DOP in the mountainous conditions. We would like to congratulate you for your awards in Gdynia, and we would like everybody to enjoy this. We'd like to invite you all to this lecture. You can hear me, yes? To start with, I would like to introduce to give a short round of introduction that how it happened that we made such a movie, and that these shots in mountainous conditions were created. Andrzej Marcisz was and still is a legend of Polish mountain climbing. So an interesting thing happened here because we all know Ola Mirosław, who became the first Polish Olympic champion in rock climbing, and this guest here was the forefather of climbing. He took part in the unofficial world championship, which took place in the Soviet Union. Yes, in 1986, and at that time, the best participants were Soviets, and Andrzej won. That was the only such win against them, and the only one, for a foreigner. It was it took place in Crimea, and such championship was organized in the USSR. Of course, he was challenging the best climbers in the sport climbing. You were the the champion of Europe, the European champion, Polish champion. Yeah, I was. I got the first medal in this sport, in climbing. I got the third place in the World Cup, and I got the third place in the European Championship in the official sport already, which sort of got momentum and started to develop and end up with the Olympic Games. Now we have to come back to Kraków, to a fallen quarry, which was the center of Polish climbing when I started climbing in the 1980s. At the end of 1980s. Of course, there were no special wall climbing walls, artificial walls. You only had natural objects, and we were climbing in the rocks around Kraków and in the quarry, which was almost in this. We met in the center of Kraków. We went to the Tatra Mountains. We trained. We took courses, and that's how I met him. The elite of Polish rock climbing met in that quarry every day. You could meet champions. Not only of climbing, but also Himalaya mountain climbing, because Wojtek Kurtyka was a distinguished climber, but also a Himalaya mountaineer who conquered the mountains in very, very small teams. So, for example, in on the Gasherbrum light wall. At that time, that was the oasis of freedom, and the climbers were always against the system in a way, or outside of the system, and maybe it is still so. And there I met, as a young novice of climbing, I met Andrzej and his competitor Piotr Korczak, and Andrzej is also the protagonist of a movie that we made on a 35mm film, The Way to Immortality. It's a movie about Piotr Korczak, because I was trying to finish the film about Andrzej, but it's about Korczak, who was a natural competitor. They were competing against one another. They were getting into more and more difficult paths, routes, and they were fighting for primacy. So that's how we met them. And when I graduated from the film school, I was climbing less because initially I was climbing a lot. Even Korczak said that you were quite good for those times, but unfortunately I was not able to get it to the top of the tops, and I decided to leave it behind, the climbing. And then I treated it about like in a semi-amateur way, more like a hobby. And in the film school, I decided I would like to make a movie in the mountains. So my mountaineering licenses were a natural element of us going towards making that sort of a movie. And there was a declaration. The film declaration was made when we were writing The White Courage, which is a movie on the history of Polish Podhale Highlanders. Yesterday, the movie was not shown. Unfortunately, we had a problem with the copy. It will be shown tomorrow. Maybe it's good. Maybe it will complement our discussion here, and what we show here, will be then shown on the big screen in full. And we stood, and we were challenged with a very big problem. I'm a man which Polar can tell you about, but also Marcisz, that I'm a very stubborn person. Initially, I do have this first mood board. I did some sort of a creative cinema. I didn't follow the story, and this protagonist was a real person. He was remodeled and collated from a number of protagonists. So it's a sort of a merger. It's a fact-based story that the Polish mountaineers betrayed Poland, and the Germans suggested to them the concept that they are of German origin, not from Slav origin, and they bought it, and that was the biggest, I would say, it was the biggest shame of Polish mountaineers. And because we do have the Polish Highlanders as a sort of a something noble, like a national symbol, and this story is pretty dark. So I talk about it with Łukasz Maciejewski, with whom we wrote the script, that this protagonist will be driving the story, but he will be also a mountain climbing Highlander. I set very lofty goals in front of me because Andrzej initially suggested to me. I had an old mood board here, which I can show to you. The alpine climbing mood board or mountain climbing mood board, which assumed certain easier because what Andrzej did.
Filip Pławiak myślę, że na takim poziomie 6.2 może o tym mówi, ale no to jest już trudny poziom. Jeśli dochodzą od zera przez 2 lata do tego poziomu, a Filip z pół roku robił takie sztywności i był gotowy jakby to zdjęć, zrobił wszystkie zdjęcia bez kaskadera. W jednym ujęciu Andrzej tylko się pojawił.
Andrzej appeared here only in one shot as a double body, and Pławiak did all the walks there. So I wanted to add that the fact that he attained a certain climbing level, for this moment, I was not a master, but he had to climb an immense wall, which is 500 meters tall, and I must say that attaining this level with such a big wall, it's different from climbing 15 or 20 meters wall that you climb, or especially artificial ones. Yes, Andrzej will talk about that in a second, that he offered to me simpler solutions. I was stubborn enough to say that we have to do extreme walls. I totally I totally forgot that in the 30s and 40s people didn't do such difficult walls. I made a futuristic mountain climbing cinema, and I knew that I was not even reading the fora because people are hating us on those fora, like guys who are no-name climbers, but they always have something to say, and probably they criticize us. But I just fuck them. I'm not doing that for 0.4 pro mile viewer. I'm doing this cinema for a movie, this movie for a viewer who wants to have it attractive on the screen. So I selected the most difficult walls, Kazalnica, as a summer climb, the ice falls, which is an extreme ice fall. It's one of the most difficult routes in the Tatra mountains. I selected a wall that is dangerous, that is 500 meters tall and has overhangs. So I played the Russian roulette because nobody knew if our actor will be able to pull that off. So I was playing with the producer in a way that I said I will cheat my producer a bit, that it's gonna be easy, and then I will put everything on the table. And everybody managed to do it, including Filip, Andrzej, and Polar did that too. And we've managed to get on this immense wall. We will see you a short film from a making of sorts, what it looked like. I will also, at first I wanted to present to you the first mood board, pre-production mood board. And on Kazalnica they showed us, they gave us maybe a bit easier solutions. We showed those individual places, and in a while you will see here we did a lot about avalanches. The idea of avalanche is very interesting. Polar will tell you more about it because he was the avalanche hunter. He was sent by me with 2 cameras. He was deported by me to waiting for the avalanche. So we're sitting there with Polar, walking around. The producer was chasing because we had Sony Venice 2, which costs a lot of money. We had 2 cameras. The costs of Sony Venice was very high, and the days would go by and we didn't catch anything. You know, they were sitting there trying to catch a fish, and Agata Szymańska says that she pays for every day why nothing is happening. And I said, okay, let's put in explosive charges and let's make an avalanche. Well, in the Tatra Mountains National Park, it would not be possible. But maybe now I will leave the floor to Andrzej to explain what was the concept of. Yes, I just wanted to. We wanted to make a real avalanche. At some point, we co-created the Tatra Mountains Rescue Service. Then an amateur recorded a certain footage from the avalanche. It was digitalized later, but we didn't like it too much. But when we were making a movie about you, we had like this huge avalanche during the filming when we were thankfully hidden under the overhang, and we had this like big curtain of the avalanche. Of course, we were hidden thankfully, and everything went well. For a while, maybe Polar will find it and he will show it to you. Everything went pitch dark. Yes. Apart from that, when the avalanche goes down, you get a vacuum, and I was slightly suffocated. Because when the avalanche goes down, it takes away the oxygen. But thankfully, everything ended well. So we came back to the topic of avalanches, and I said, listen, if there will be the 3rd level of avalanche threat, we will go to Morskie Oko, and we will try to maybe, I will remind you, if you're not going around the Tatras and mountains, 3rd level of risk is a very high risk. We have 4 levels of avalanche risk in the mountains. of course, you cannot define this to 100% because in one place you can have a third level, on somewhere else you can have risk 4. So it all depends. Anyway, we had this one happy situation that there were 2 cameras. They were on. Polar switched between them, and he was actually changing batteries when the avalanche went down. Yeah, I will tell you it from my perspective what the avalanches look like. It looked like this, that we went in the beginning, as Andrzej said, when one of the highest avalanche threats appeared in Tatra, was announced in Tatra. The routes were closed, and we had a funny situation that we came when the route to Morskie Oko was locked. It was closed because of the avalanche risk. And because in the Gendarmerie Valley, where the ravine, there is a very, which you would go to Morskie Oko, the avalanche risk was very high. And we came with Andrzej during the night, and the first thing we've met was the park ranger who chased us away, who said, "No chance, go away." So we left a car in Slovakia, and slightly during the night, like Tatra couriers during the war, on the moonlight without any light, we were going through the snow to get around all the sensors, and in the night with big backpacks, 30 kilograms, with all the filming equipment, we went to Morskie Oko. And we got to the Morskie Oko lake. We got to the Gendarmeria ravine. It cuts through the. Okay, remember Andrzej saying, if you hear anything, just throw down your backpack and get the fuck out of here. But thankfully, nothing hit us. The cameras are not as important as our lives. So we got to the Morskie Oko lake, and we had 3 days of sunny weather, with the 3rd level and 4th level of risk, but we had no avalanche. The second idea was that we will help this avalanche, and we went with a slightly bigger crew. And Andrzej, after the consultation, we found a place where, according to our thinking, it was a more avalanche-prone place where we was supposed to record this. And we came up with this idea that Andrzej will go there with two climbers. They will dig a hole, and they will jump on the snow to cause the avalanche. And after a few hours, it occurred that even jumping with 3 people on the snow overhang didn't cause any avalanche. So then our morale went down because we decided nothing will work out. But then we had the last chance, and then I went. I don't know, Andrzej, you were not with us at that time, or during my last trip. I think we were all 3 there. It was like this, that we couldn't bring any avalanche down. We were always in communicating with Marcin, because we were much higher, and we wanted to, when this avalanche would start, we wanted Marcin to be ready and to start both cameras. One camera was always covered. I will tell you how it was. So there were 2 vanities. They were prepared in such a way that one was supposed to take a broad shot of the wall, and the other one was to had a narrower lens, and I was supposed to follow the avalanche on the close-up. But every 3 hours you had to change the batteries in the cameras, and you had to replace them very quickly. And unfortunately, exactly at the moment when it was, I don't know, the 7th hour or 6th or 7th hour of waiting for on the ice on the Morskie Oko lake, and we were replacing the batteries. One of the cameras was running because it was about 20%, and the other one was just dying at the very moment when I was bending down because I was not even. This camera was going on and on and on. I went to the backpack for another batteries to quickly replace them. When I was standing 10 meters away with my back we heard the sound of avalanche. And I must say that it's not that easy to notice the avalanche immediately in the Tatra Mountains, because you can hear that, but you feel that this sound is coming from everywhere, and this avalanche is very, very small. It's most noisy when it's very small, and when it goes down, and it there you have the snowball effect. It changes into like this big cloud, and this avalanche started very, very low. It started from like middle of the wall of the mountain wall. One, it was very low. Secondly, I couldn't see it, and the only thing I managed to do when I heard it, I left this battery and I jumped to the second camera that was in operation, and very quickly I was holding this camera. I was trying to detect where the avalanche was there, and suddenly we realized it was just in front of us. I managed to record this moment when it got to the ground, to the bottom of the mountain, and starts to disperse. It was so incredibly big. We were standing halfway between the hostel and the mountain. We got hit by the air and we got covered by the snow. And at the edge of the lake, the ice broke. So it was one of the. I've seen a lot of avalanches, like in the spring in Tatras, which are heavy snow, which is very intensively going down. And I think that was the only avalanche that you can see exactly like in the films in Alps or Himalayas, where it develops this huge cloud, and it just starts to grow like a cloud. So that's the only the only time when I saw such an avalanche in my life. That was one only shot, and we managed to get the close up of this. And I think in the context of editing, it was more important than the broad one. And the fact that it was so spectacular down there also did its job. And we've managed to use it. Even though the costs were very high, we've managed to attain the goal. The most important thing was that you were recording all the time. And even if we have the beginning of this avalanche recorded, we have the sound. The whole drama is maintained. You have this huge sound. You don't know where it comes from, and suddenly you see, only after a while you can see the avalanche. So in terms of editing, it works perfectly well. Is there a shot with this? You have a shot with the avalanche here, yes? This is the film about Andrzej. I will maybe search for this. It might be somewhere on my disk too. So this is how the situation with avalanches looked like. Getting this up on our backs, shooting avalanches took place even before we started the main filming set. These were the first attempts before the whole production machine started going. I remember when we were meeting with the production in the very beginning, and of course the head of production suggested to us that this should be done by the Indians, because they would do it 100% well, but Marcin always stopped him in his tracks and said, what is natural and it will always be better than the best special effect. Maybe let me shorten that, because somebody will help us to show that. A colleague will help us to show it here. Let's see if you have a sound there. Okay, I will be talking meanwhile, so that you don't get bored. So I was really stubborn, and I was really happy. I was really lucky. Andrzej managed to, during the spring, there was sun, and the avalanches went down. So you will see that's the final scene where our protagonist is killed by this avalanche, and it went down from the Kazalnica wall, a really spectacular, from the sanctuary. There's a lot of snow gathering there, and it was like a huge avalanche. I'm sorry, I can't hear if they're not talking to the microphone. So now slowly we will move to a technological thing, more to a technique. There will be two situations. One of them will be work of Andrzej as the coach of Filip Pławiak, but this is not a technological matter. It's more a coaching thing. However, Andrzej before Marcin Polar appeared, Marcin Polar is my former student. He's a graduate of the cinematography department. He wrote his master's thesis about underwater filming and aviation filming, and he graduated cum laude. So I invited him, and we did a lot of things together. And let's start from this scene. I invited Marcin Polar, but before I invited him, me and Andrzej, we found places which will be photographed and filmed, and we performed the whole documentation. We went down the wall. Andrzej showed me different variants of the routes, of the climbing routes, because you have to think about the movement of the camera. Because it's good to make, when you're shooting in mountains, it's good if you have camera detached a bit from the wall, because so that the perspective is better. And we also introduced a small movement of the camera, so that was a lot of fun. Andrzej will tell you about that. Andrzej built with the help of a mechanic, it's like mini cranes, and we took it out into the mountains, thanks to some superhuman effort of Slovakian carriers, of Slovakian people. We put a lot of equipment on the wall, a lot of ropes. Andrzej will tell you all about it too. I will show you this avalanche, which was the point of departure for us. We wanted to achieve something similar, but we didn't manage to do that, and we had to do it with the help of CGI. But at least we had a great scene, which was the point of the departure from that's the original one that we experienced, and Andrzej will tell you about the whole logistics, how he came up with all this, so that it all worked well. We had winter shots in one of in some other mountains. We didn't manage to make documentation in there, but Andrzej knew this wall, and I was also there, and I knew from the draw. Marcin Polar filmed this solo walk of a guy who climbed there. He unfortunately died during one of his solo walks. And he died in the Alps, unfortunately. He was a very well known, he was a husband of Justyna Kowalczyk, a well known Polish Olympic sportswoman, and this guy was soloing this wall, and we took pictures, and Andrzej came up with the idea that we will set up a camp there. I would say this cherry on top was the big walk through this big Kazalnica wall, 500 meters, and that was really serious shit. We filmed that during one day, because all the summer preparation, 1 year of preparation, it was a bit like hunting Bin Laden. Like the Navy SEALs were training for years and years and years, and guys land, they get in, they shoot at everybody and just kill the guy. It was very similar. What we did was very similar to the work of Navy SEALs that are preparing for months to an action, and they have 12-hour window, and we were also fighting against a tempest. There was a storm coming, and I was really, really lucky, because when we were going down that wall, it like hundreds of meters, it started to rain, and we got like ideally, we managed to get there. We, kill the target and come back. So this is what it looked like. I will ask Polar also to tell a bit more about that, because I invited Marcin Polar, and he physically was at the camera at all times. So I was maybe down under the foot of the wall with the screen, with the preview screen, and Marcin was doing all the shots that are in the movie. So I will show you maybe the avalanche from the movie about Andrzej, the project which has not been completed yet, and Andrzej will tell you about the technology and the logistics. And Marcin will tell you about the mountain shots and the work with the drone. I mean, we got a permission. It's a very rare, because the thing is with the drone, the problem is you have lots of limitations, because you have eagles, some other wild animals, copulating, beavers. You cannot stop them from copulating, because the population of beavers will go down. So you have plenty of limitations in the national park, but we've managed to fly a drone there. We got in conflict with the national park only once, because there is a scene where you have extras, or the Bargiel brothers, Andrzej Bargiel, who went down from on the skis from K2, got a bit too low down a ravine from Kasprowy Wierch, a mountain. He went a bit too far, and the national park got crazy and furious that we didn't agree to that, and we had lots of problems with that, but we've managed to somehow dissipate the problems. So I'll show you that first, and at the end Marcin Polar will show you the making of, because I think this is interesting what was happening there in this wall. So let's first see this avalanche. That's the part of the movie about Andrzej. I just wanted to add here that the moment when we were recording this avalanche was the moment when I met Andrzej. And since that, and with Marcin and later with Andrzej together, we made a number of projects in the mountains. That was the moment when I was, I think, a student of a second year, and Marcin found me because I was making my own documentary about the cave exploration, underground cave exploration. So he saw me that I'm pretty good with the ropes, and he managed to, and he decided to take me for this project with Andrzej. And we have this adventure, which is until now, and I would say the White Courage is the crowning of this. And that started with the pictures that you will see now. Can you dim down the light so that we can see things better? On the sound, let's see if it's going to work, if it's not too soft. This is a moment I told you I got semi suffocated here by the under pressure, by the vacuum. We have in this mood board also, I wanted to show you one more thing. We have this wall here. I wanted to show you the Kazalnica wall, the summer sequence that was the most difficult. These are the pictures from the underhang in Kazalnica. That's some historical picture, but this is a good picture from the side. Actually, this is from climbing route manual. You can see this. You can see the person there. So it's like a vertical wall, and with an overhang, and like hundreds of meters of that wall. Here we have Piotr Korczak on this route. An interesting thing in this wall is that you can see the water of the Czarny Staw Lake down there.
Tak, zresztą przyjaciele, no może bardziej Andrzej ich znał bardzo blisko.
So our friends Andrzej knew them much better. Those who died in Kazalnica, their bodies ended up in Czarny Staw Lake, and they were fished out by the mountain rescue divers. So here we prepared the places where we will be shooting, and this is the yellow line that you can see there, yellow curve. You can see that this is the most important place is up there. I think we've lost vision. I don't know what happened. We've lost vision. Oh, it works. So here I would like to show you the Kazalnica again. Again, from below you can see what sort of overhang it is. And this whole wall was, we need to put railings here. We bought, it was not politically correct, but we bought a few kilometers of Belarusian ropes because they were the cheapest ones. I think we had a few kilometers of them, and we put them on that wall. Andrzej will tell you more about this. So that's the ice fall that we selected for the winter sequence. So here you have here we recorded the winter shots. Here we shot this is the overhang, and this is all from me for now. And I would like to pass the floor, give the floor to Andrzej and Marcin later, and at the end we'll show you the making of. For the project that got the final name White Courage, I was pulled into this project by Marcin many years ago. The idea was created in 2013. So for the first time, we were walking around the Slovakian Tatra mountains to look for these sceneries that would be working well, where it would be easy to do the filming for the future planned movie. We walked a lot in Slovakian mountains. We found the Łomnica wall because there we were filming the rescue ranges. I was in the third part in the third series of the rescue ranges. There was this story. I was playing that movie. You know, there was an episode with the accident, a climber's accident. So after checking some other possibilities, I suggested to Marcin that this should be a film. This will be a film for the Polish people, mainly for the public, the Polish audience. So it would be best to have all these pictures done in the Polish Tatra mountains. That's why we moved from the Slovakian side finally to Morskie Oko Lake and the area to where you have Kazalnica and Mikloszewski Peak. So when we were preparing for these pictures, I mean, it took us a very long time. We had to be in contact with the Tatra National Park at all times to make sure that they will give us permission to record. Of course, we could not use the strict natural reserve. We couldn't even film from the slopes that are within the strict reserve. So for many months, with many of my friends, we tried to find places. We're recording short movies. We're presenting to Marcin, and he said, "Do you like this? This is going to be good. There's a good shot here. It would be easy to get the equipment up here," because my role was to be the head of mountain security. I had to take care of the security of the whole team and the whole, like, everybody. And when we were preparing for this, I took into account the security of the crew so that everybody finished safe in this race. So of course you might imagine that there's a shot which takes a few seconds, but a few seconds in a movie, but the preparation to such a set where there are supposed to be two actors, just like you had shots in together with shots with Julian Chrząstowski and Pławiak when his father is being saved in the movie. You have to have the whole crew in place and plenty of people to help you. Very shortly, just have a look at you will see that during the making of that you have like this huge tangle of ropes. If somebody were there for the first time, you wouldn't really know which rope is for what, and everybody's scared to the wits that it will all will fall down. Well, everything is a bit like in space. Everything is hanging. When you changing lenses, you are doing that in the air, and you will see that in the movie. Yes, so as Marcin said, preparing this is like preparing yourself for a war. You have to plan everything, every little detail. Of course, Marcin always pressed us to be as flashy as possible. I had to dissuade him from certain things right away because I said we will not go there with a crew. It's too dangerous. It's too risky. But at the end of the day, we got to a consensus. So finally, when it comes to shots like filming, which was really extremely difficult, it was in Mingóż Pillar. It is 800 meters over the Morskie Oko Lake. You had to get there the full filming equipment in the middle of the winter. I would say early spring conditions which are very difficult in the Tatra Mountains because in the morning everything is frozen, in the afternoon everything is melting away, and the conditions are such that the threat of avalanches is very high. So we were passing by only when everything was totally frozen, everything was absolutely solid, everything was very safe. An additional problem was that it was not supposed to be played by a professional double body, but Filip Pławiak himself, the main actor. So this all took for much longer than we would that if we've done that with the stuntsman. But Filip Pławiak, he was incredibly able, and the fact that I managed to teach him to climb like in 1.5 years, that was caused by the fact that he wasn't supposed to learn how to climb. He was supposed to climb like Marcin wanted him, like a real professional when it comes to climbing. So he had to climb at a much higher level than, and we managed to do that. And when it came to the pictures that which will be best shown by the making of that we will play to at the end of our lecture, the preparation of all those ropes. It's 1 kilometer of ropes that we put up there to go down down this wall. It took us 14 days. I went down this rope with different people 14 times. On the 15th time, once again, I went down with Marcin once again for him to see all that. I once went down with Filip Pławiak to teach him all the sequences that he will be overcoming in the movie. And the 15th time was the attack itself, and we had to spend a few days afterwards to bring down everything, to take down all the equipment. I even recently had to go down there to collect the remaining ropes from that. Marcin, tell a few words about the operation of the camera and the camera work. Let me just connect things here. Yeah, it works. So here I will not give you a very detailed description, but they will maybe complement what I would be saying. This is the this is the Slovakian Sherpa in this part of the world. These are the only Sherpas. The tradition is still in Slovakia that they're not using helicopters or quads. They transport things on the backs and beer barrels, 60 kilograms on average, on back. They have like their own championship, and they can carry around 200 kilograms on top of the mountain. You can imagine how it works on your joints, but they are very determined. They have this tradition, but so it's good to have them because this allowed us to do that movie. So that was the beginning of the winter shots when on ski tours from under the black Czarny Staw lake. We were looking for the avalanches. The temperature, as you can see, was like this. We had so much equipment to carry up into the mountains in the beginning, then later, and this is just a small portion of the equipment we had to get on top. And here, looking for the avalanches, here an additional observer. We found this observer who was looking at us, and this is the shooting of the avalanches when this avalanche went down. I think you should. Somebody should send it to Sony that we could get some sort of award from them. That was the moment of shooting when the avalanche came down, and it went. Do you see my mouse? And this is my pointer. It started from here, from this snow field. It then built up here and down that ravine. So that was the only avalanche that went down at that time. Here, after the shots, that's our Sherpa who was carrying our equipment. He had to carry our mini jeep, but here shooting of Filip were shot where he's freezing in the under a rock. That was a simple thing, but then it all started. So I'll be not describing all of these pictures, but I'm just trying to show you what it looked like. Several shooting days spent on the wall just to get this to a perfection, so that when Filip appears, we would be able to make 3 angles of a camera, 3 difficult sequences, one after the other, to make it all in one day. And practically, we've managed to get it working to such an extent with the mini rigs that you can see here. It was made when we prepared this originally when we made a film about Andrzej, that transferring one camera from another, everything was done suspended from the ropes. It took us just a few minutes, and we were ready for another shot. It was so that during the walking on the railings, there was an accident on the route next to us, and when we heard that somebody fell and somebody screaming, we called the rescuers, and they came to rescue the guy. So that was the mini jib that we wanted to be put on the other. Of course, it was not adapted to put enough load, so much load, but you had to be very, very careful, because the jib was overloaded when you were moving the jib around. We heard those strange metallic cracks, so we had to be very delicate not to make it fall down. This is what the camera looked like when it was hanging. It's Venice 1 suspended from the wall. I think it was Venice 1. Counterweight and everything looked like this. And I was suspended on the ropes, and I had to manipulate this jib with one hand. Thankfully, the focus was pulled from the foot of the mountain. I didn't have to pull the focus. But the most important thing, the most stressful thing for me was that I was responsible for the logistics of the film equipment and all the completing and doing all the backups, taking all the equipment with me. And now if, for example, when we were shooting on the Mingush pillar 2000 meters above the sea level, we had to take into account that if you miss a single cable, you lose one filming day. We had a situation, for example, that they brought us a non-paired remote preview system, and I couldn't change it beforehand. And so, who would imagine that I would need to have a small pin with me to pair it on the spot? And we even managed to build that pin. However, it occurred that something didn't work, and despite our trying to pair it, we didn't have any preview. If I didn't think previously to take 2 additional cables, SDI cables, for my preview, I mean, that would be very tough for us. But thanks to this, before the set, I was taking everything apart and bringing it all together again 3 times to make sure that everything is there. So all this, for example, was hanging. It was hanging in the air. It was not lying on the ground. And here we were in a very dangerous place. We made a template for the. It was a template for the avalanche that was added in post-production. And if the avalanche really came here, it would fall on our faces. So we did the shooting as quickly as possible, and then we ran away as quickly as possible to hide under the overhang. So everything was covered with ice. So we had to break the ice when we were coming up from the ropes, and this is what it looked like from underneath the overhang. A very interesting adventure. This was during the shooting of the templates. Many days, great adventure. You can see again the pictures on the overhang. So out of this, for me, the most difficult part was the logistics, so that we don't miss anything, so that everything works. And that was, I felt very burdened by that. But the climbing, we're mountain people, so that was just fun. Can you turn down the light? Can you dim the lights right now, please? I will show you 2 short videos to allow you to visualize what was happening in terms of moving around the camera. But I will show the making of later. But now 2 short clips. The camera was put on a gimbal here. This looks a bit weird, but it was a rain protection. Because the storm was looming, and I was trying to protect the electronics here so that the gimbal could work. I think we don't have sound. Just give me a sec. Can you give me some more sound? I wanted to add here that what you can see here, we finally built a mini gimbal that was added to those tripods, and so you can hear the rig on here. So I was slightly a techno rig which was protruding from the rock, at the end of which you had a remotely controlled gimbal, and that's how it was done. So focus was remote, control was remote. This is the north face.
Akcja! Ej, stop! Teraz tak, kliknijcie tą kamerę tam. To trzecie. Teraz już perspektywa jest troszeczkę inna.
Izolacja z lodu zabezpieczyła nasze liny. Przed asekuracją. Dobra. Znalazła się. Tak, jakie coś, no?
Akcja!
Tu jestem, patrzy, schodzi na dno.
Akcja jeszcze raz.
Kamera w zapisie. Kamera gra.
Górę głowa.
Jest 800 metrów nad naszego oka.
O, ale mam przewalone. Stopień wiesz, na prawą minę. Zajrzyjcie go tam po tych stopniach wiesz. Bo macie strzeli na lewo. O, tu. O, i nie trzyma, dobra, i chowasz. Chowasz się tam. I schodzisz. Dobrze, bardzo dobrze. To samo. Złapanie tego dużego. Jak ci daje blok.
Jeszcze nie mówiliśmy o scenach na kościele, ale to zobaczycie na filmie. Tam też była niezła akcja.
Dobra, stop. Jest. I
He was also training on the church.
I spróbuj na górkę pierwszą. Dobra, teraz spokojnie. A to jest okej.
Filip się
A
nauczył
tu, prawa noga na górkę.
siebie dokładnie tak jak ja. Nawet to on potem skopiował taką drobną gdzie mówił.
Lewo, dobra. Góra, tak, z lewej strony.
No i ostatnie ujęcia tej sceny były kręcone z samej igliczki 70-metrowej.
And the last shot to this was the last scene. He was shot from the very top of the from the needle of the cupola of the church, and we made the shots from there.
Dobra, gimbal ustawiony.
Okay, gimbal is set.
Reżyser przy pracy, słuchajcie.
The director at work.
Pierwsza osoba nam wymiękła w rotinie. Reżyser ruszył na ratunek.
The first person lost their thought, their strength in the valley, so the director had to take up the load.
Ostatni raz taki widok.
Też jak prawdziwy pochutnik. Tutaj statyw, który znieść na dół, no to on był rozmontowany na trzy fragmenty, majże 30 kg. Metrów.
Statyw number one on set.
Ja.
Z prawej musimy mieć więcej.
Kamila.
Finalnie mieliśmy przygotowane 3 statywy w ścianie.
Majster.
I
Jak to ma się robota podoba?
zjeżdżać w górę z kamerą i przestawiać ujęcie.
No i teraz będzie się zaczynała już scena.
And now we'll start the scene of how we shot. So you'll see how it worked with all those. Finally, we got down in 7 people together with the main actor.
Są emocje.
Życie chłopaki, no. Ja się człowiek tak, no. Dlaczego to musi być?
No, zaraz kiedyś zbroił kamerę na gimalu, to wie jak to wygląda.
If any one of you tried to arm a camera on a gimbal, you know what we had to feel when we were doing this in the air.
No jeszcze nie wiesz.
Jest potrzebna ten klucz 13, to widzę, że trafą, a trafą to musi dodać. Nie. Dobra, do pozycji. Wygraj swoje. Jedziemy. Jest, poszła. Tak jest.
Widzieliśmy 4 osoby. Ja na chwilę jeszcze zasypiłem.
O!
Filip się spinał. Ja asykurowałem, one reagowali.
Ja ci wybieram.
Przyjaciele. Kurde, zaśpiliśmy to. Ale jak to zrobiłeś z tym podwójnym chwytem? Stary od dziadku.
Film. Jak poszło?
Polsko.
No, Mission complete.
Ponad Mission Possible. Ponad rok Mission Possible. Początek czerwca zaczęliśmy. A takie już regularne treningi, a wcześniej jeszcze podciąganie, siłka. Tak, siłka. Tak, ale razem od czerwca.
Jak się
Dzisiaj pija. Jest dobrze. Bez Andrzeja nie byłoby szans. Najmniejszych.
Jak się czujesz już po tym, że zrobiłeś te trudności, co?
No nie no, jestem mega szczęśliwy. Cieszę się, że się udało. Cieszę się, że pogoda dopisała.
Okay, let's turn on the light, and now we generally we finished. This is just a question for you. Do you have any questions to us? And we might be able to answer them. If the First of all, congratulations, because you really have to see that making of to realize the immenseness of this task which you've managed to achieve. But in a situation in which you are preparing a film in the mountains, shots in the mountains, the selection of the filming department is different from traditional filmmaking. That's the first question. And how many people were working in the cinema, sort of in the camera department? Andrzej will answer the second one because he knew all the people and he counted them. The selection of the crew was such that everybody were to be climbers. There was not a single person. The focus puller is a great mountaineer who makes his own movies, and he was pulling the focus. Everybody, all the assistants, people who did any sort, they all were made films in mountains. So we selected our crew. Everybody was an experienced rock and mountain climber. So all this crew that was working on the grounds at the foot of the mountain, that was we had like crew number 1 and a crew number 1. We had a different crew for the mountains and a different crew for shots, for shooting, for the, I would say, the narrative story in the valleys. And the number of people, I will surprise you probably, because we needed just 3 people to make the shots. We needed Marcin, the focus puller, and the assistant. Marcin, together with the second person who secured him, had a preview, and he directed the whole scene. The 2 other people was me and Filip. Filip was to climb, and I was to secure Filip. So we minimized the number of people who climbed that wall due to the fact that due to the security issues. A number of people, I mean, the more people you have, just the sheer number increases the threat. Everybody is a danger to another one, because everybody can have a rock fall under his foot down. So we had somebody on the top. I mean, there were people prepared to just in case bring things to us. They were standing on the top of the wall and under the foot of the wall. But all the pictures that you've seen here, all the images were made with an absolutely minimum crew, 3-4 people, which were connected to manning the camera. I also would like to congratulate you. The film not only had beautiful shots, but also it had a very sort of incredible story that kept me at the edge of the chair until the end. For many scenes, I've been thinking how the post-production did you that Filip Pławiak is climbing such difficult things, and now I know that it was not post-production, it was just Filip. So congratulations. And for you, Marcin, a question. After the huge success of this movie, do you have plans for another movie with mountains? Maybe not in the background, but as one of the protagonists. Yeah, the mountain movie is difficult to produce. It's difficult to film. Here we had the story of Goralen folk, the Highlanders collaboration with Germans, but a mountain movie is a bit like pornographic movie. It's like they're just climbing, and you have to find a story in this. Not many mountain movies, like feature movies, are interesting. Maybe 2, 3. But I think that so far this topic, this mountain topic, has been set. I set it aside for a while. I have ideas for other narratives. I would like to complete the documentary about Andrzej. But maybe at some point I will come back to such a movie. For example, the Stanisławski's as a character, he was an interwar period climber. He's an interesting character, but I don't have an idea for that yet. When I'm watching the making of, the level of complexity is crazy. Did you have any doubts at any stage in the context of the next mountain movie? Would you like to take a rest from that topic? I can see a lot of moments. I would never undertake another such movie. Being responsible for the safety of all those people who are engaged in this. So he's like a sports spirit that I always have and I always had. It's not about competing against other teams, but we did it in the most difficult places that you have in Tatra Mountains, and I don't know what anybody would have to do to get better than we did. So I think we set the bar so high that nobody will clear it, and that was a bit of an idea. But Tatra Mountains are an interesting place for filming because these are difficult mountains. They are not so as easy as they look, especially in the summer you are threatened by falling rocks. In the winter you have avalanches. It's very cold. People who are engaged a large crew is used to slightly easier conditions than being exposed to a very deep frost and very, very cold temperature. Everything that was shot during the winter, the day is very short. We had to get up during the night. We came back to the camp during the night. The temperature, if there's no light, it's horrible temperature, freezing. It's very complicated. I do feel that it would be difficult to make a more complicated movie. I was wondering if you're satisfied and you want to go in a different direction. It's difficult. It's different when you make a documentary, for example. That's when we were doing Declaration of Immortality. Me and Piotr Korczak were just climbing there as professionals. So we did not need people who would be who would secure us, who would take care of our safety. We just wanted we just needed people who would film us. Yeah, maybe in the future I would like to deal with the topic the Scream of the Stone by Herzog. It's not my favorite movie, but Waiting for Joe, I think this is number one. It's a film based on true story. Yes, but such story happens once every millennium. So the story itself created that movie, and the fact that they filmed it in a perfect way, it's a different story. We don't need to go into Himalayas. I know that right now there's a race to make a movie about Wanda Rutkiewicz. An interesting topic, a very difficult one. Himalayas are extremely difficult because you have no flashy climbing. It's just crawling across some terrain, just like on the Rysy mountain in Tatras. 30-40 degrees you just crawl there across the snow. So what you've seen in Broad Peak, it's just panting in the snow. You're just going up and you pant. So there is no film effect. It's a huge problem when you're trying to do a movie about Himalayas. Let's see what will happen. I do feel attracted by this topic. So far, it's been taken by someone else. But as far as I know, there's a slight chance that they will be able to do that, because the director that was appointed for this movie, he has no idea about mountains. I will not drop names here, but I don't think he's ever been to Tatra Mountains, and he wants to make a movie in Pakistan about Wanda Rutkiewicz. The budget is 15 million zlotys. It's totally unrealistic to do anything in Pakistan. We also have to boast that recently a Polish guy, he made a movie about Sebastian Kawa, and Polar, who's sitting here. He was with Sebastian Kawa as the first guys. They flew a glider over K2. We were flying over Gasherbrum, but I was a part of this team, and we were flying over Karakorum. But Wanda, a film about Wanda Rutkiewicz, was more of a psychological movie. If I were to make it at any point, because that film will collapse, because you will not be able to do it for 15 million zlotys, especially when the director never went into the real, never did any real mountain climbing. Our film cost 16 million, and we did it in Tatra Mountains in Poland. So try to make now a better movie in Pakistan for 15 million. I'm waiting like this commando, I'm like a shark. I'm waiting for them to spill blood, and they will just eat them up. Yeah, the Hollywood movie in Himalayas is like 500 million dollars. But I touched the exploration of the mountains from the air, and it's a totally different dimension, a totally different dangers and threat and risks. But flying around with a 16 times champion of the world in gliders, I felt pretty safe, even though we were flying just over the valleys and the promontories, based only on the power of the wind. So watching the mountains from that perspective is very, very different. Okay, I would like to thank you for this beautiful story and for the beautiful images. I wanted to ask you about this mental resilience on the set, because when you look at the conditions, the level of stress is so much higher than usual on the set, and the sets are stressful. So before you enter the set, do you already have some techniques to get de-stressed, to get diffused? Is there a psychologist on the set? Oh, I thought it's about vodka. No, we didn't have any psychologist on the set, or social technologist, or some magic guys who do laughing yoga with us, or some other techniques. We did not have a masseur. The whole crew was people who had huge mountain experience, and it was a bit like robotic activities. You do certain things by intuition when you move from one point to another, not to fall off the rope. So these were all professionals. They all could do that, and they did that many times. Even though I really appreciate Pławiak, who got up there, who was trained in the rocks and then in Turkey, but getting down the Kazalnica when you have to glide down in the air for 100 meters, and the sheer height, the sheer distance under you makes a huge impression. I remember I had this break at some point, and the first time I was going down at the Kazalnica, I did feel the thrill, even though I've been climbing since 1980s. So I was really admiring Pławiak, that he managed to get this, and he got through this mentally. For us, you don't have to ask, because we had to go through that, but that Pławiak survived this, I admire him. I must tell you, yes, I wanted to add here that there was supposed to be a different actor for this role. Finally, we decided it will be Filip Pławiak, and Marcin asked me to test him. So I invited him to the avatar wall in Kraków. Julek Świeżewski came with us, and I tested all of them. What is the level of their physical condition, on their physical prowess? But I also looked at them from the point of view how they behave when it comes to like the fear of vertigo, or fear of distance that is below you. I was not 100% convinced. I said I have two, the height is too little here. It's like 10, 12 meters. So I need to take Filip to some higher wall. And so we went to Zakrzówek, where you have 30-meter wall. And here you could see that he's not afraid. So he has no internal blocks. I have huge experience working with beginners, and I'm able to tell after a few moments how they behave, whether he will make it or not, or she. And here I could see that Filip has no barriers. He told me one more thing, that he will do everything that he can to play that role. So that was I sort of had to sculpt in a good base material. So it's not everything is not that easy, because I was participating in shooting dozens of different shots with the various filmmakers, cinematographers. But a long time ago, I was making this movie, this TV show, Apetyt na zdrowie, with Katarzyna Dowbor. And we came up with the scene that we will get the cameraman down the wall, down a 30 meters wall, so from the level of 15 meters, the camera could be able to film to the side, like a shot like this. And when we started to get him lowered on the ropes, when he clung to the rope, he wouldn't let it go. He said he will not do it. And when I got down to him, and when I grabbed his arm was as if made of stone. So these are the things that happen. We had here, there was just professionals. I had such situations in Slovakia in caves. I was also spelunking for a while. And Polar was also active in spelunking, so we were called the mud swimmers, because it was as if we were going down the drain pipes. So in spelunking you have some very serious ways down, which are several dozens of meters, and there was a pipe down in Slovakia which we went down, and there was a very fearful guy who really wanted to be a spelunker. He started to go down, but he panicked when he got suspended in the air, and he was so panicked that he grabbed a Slovak by the leg, and a horror ensued. He almost pulled the guy down into the chasm, into this well. The Slovak started to kick him to let go, so that the guy lets go of his leg. So this panic paralysis, the panic can overwhelm you. So at that time I really realized that this guy, that this is such a great such a great emotional strain. It's as if a person who drowns is able to drown the rescuer. The water rescue teams have their own very drastic ways of using force to debilitate the person, to disable the person who is drowning, because otherwise they could get drowned themselves. I would like to add here that what you asked here about the stress. Of course, there were stressful situations because we had huge challenges in front of us, and there was plenty of things we didn't know how they would work out, based on the weather, on maybe like squeezing this project like a lemon. But it was very helpful, and it would be impossible were it not for the fact that the whole crew, we all knew each other very, very well. We were tried and tested. We knew each other as climbers. We knew each other in the normal life, and many of stressful situations we've already went through them. So we didn't take to the heart if, for example, there was some discussions somebody was offensive to someone, because if these were like people you wouldn't know, like a collection of motley crew from the team that from the industry that would come to the project, somebody will get offended, somebody will resign. It's about life, because in alpinism, at the end of the day, people trust each other. It's life on two ends of a rope. When I was going down the sliders that were installed by Andrzej's crew, I was absolutely dead sure that everything is installed in such a way that this line will not get broken. Granite is a very, very dangerous rock, because it can cut a rope like a knife. Our friend Kostek Dawidowicz died because his rope was cut by the part of the rock as if it was a paper rope. Trust is what I love in alpinism, and I'm really proud that I met such people like Andrzej or Kurtyka or others, that I was raised among people who were not only sportsmen but human beings. There was a lot of philosophical connection, a lot of emotional connection. In a way, my work as a DOP and director on the set, and me leading the set, I think this all is thanks to my alpinism. This is where I learned real life. You're very careful about everything in alpinism, and cooperation is very, very. It's just like very important. It's just like in a military. It's a military action. A film set is also a military action. Thank you.
Jutro będzie o 20.
Tomorrow at 8, we will have the screening of the movie. I was wondering, how do you prepare for such a climbing scene? Because I do imagine that the testing shots and the rehearsals and preparation of the wall is like a full excursion by itself. Was it once or did it take longer? How do you prepare for such scenes? This is a question, of course, to Andrzej, because Andrzej was the head of mountaineering division. He was the head coordinator of the mountain shots. He made a selection of the people. He also selected the crew. You can say how you selected those people and how you did it. The crew that prepared the railings, they were setting the equipment, and then they were taking down the equipment. With Andrzej, we set out. We outlined a certain artistic vision. What do we do in which place? And afterwards, I was sitting in the cafe, and the gentlemen were up in the mountains putting stuff on the granite world. We designed a certain action, and this action, just like with the military, and this action was then performed. On my part, I can tell you that this is. Bringing together a crew for this is extremely difficult. So I relied on my friends, with whom I've been friends for many, many years, and I've been climbing with them for many years, and I know what they're capable of. Because at the end of the day, we were a sort of an internal film family. That's why it all went very well, because we understood each other without any words. I said that we have to do this or that. Apart from that, we also have the support of the Sherpas whom I knew very well. I worked with them on many movies too. Everything went forward. And the preparation, it's very diverse. Even a simple scene that takes maybe for several seconds. Sometimes you have to prepare it for a few days in order to get everything in place, and so that everything clicks in place. We had 20 days in the mountains, but the truth is that we actually sat in the Tatra mountains more than a month to prepare everything. Just setting up the railings and preparation of the summer shots in Kazalnica, we had to go up the wall 14 times. Every time 30 kilograms of equipment per person. We got 600 meters over the ground. Then we traversed to the shooting place. Then we got down to 200 meters to the shooting point after changing the ropes with those heavy pieces of gimbals suspended from us and installing it part by part to get to that one single shooting day. So this is what it looked like. And in other places, this looked very similarly. So for a few days, of course, set apart, because it also depended on the weather and the availability of people, you had to have those 2 weeks before you started filming anything to get prepared. And we spent all this time in the mountains with Andrzej and with a crew. A lot of hard physical work, and you also had to retain a certain artistic clearness of your imagination and head to keep that. That's why I suggest, if you want to to be in good condition, running on the flat surface. Of course, when you run very fast, Andrzej can run very fast, but generally amateur running on flat, Andrzej proved that it's worth nothing, really. running or walking, doing so many like in vertical is much better. It's better to walk up to some mountain with a brisk walk, and the civil conditions I recommend to you taking stairs, and the stairs are much better than running on the flat surface. I just wanted to answer to you that we here on purpose we resigned from any help of professional guides, because I wanted to have such a deal that we are not dependent. It's not like a client. We're not a client and service provider relation. And these guys are also a bit showmany. But I wanted to be honest, I wanted to be that secure with the people with whom I'm climbing, and I really can rely on them. I think that's the end. So thank you very much for being here and for the big number of questions that you asked, because we're very happy about that. Thank you.